Well, we're at 5:30, and I know we are up against certain time limits. Jennifer turns into a queen of economic development at 6:30, right?
Yes.
So she's
Pay for that.
she's gotta run out of here for that, for that event, so we need to maximize her availability. So I'll call us to order at this point, with the hope that Casey will come, either virtually or otherwise. I don't see any public online, no public in the room, so we will continue to move. Jennifer distributed the minutes from October 28th.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion made. Is there a second? I'll second it.
I will second the motion.
There you go. Any discussion, changes, modifications? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 On to the subgroups. Soils, testing and wetlands.
Okay, so I revised the draft, the work scope for an engineering company, assuming it's a town engineers, Jacobson Associates. Chris has been laid off with his knee.
Right.
So in his note, so a couple things I just wanted to mention. If we're going to sole source it, it's a request for quotation, I believe, an RFQ, as opposed to sending it out to a number of bidders, requests for proposals. So I just need to tailor it for that, but looking at and you know, I mentioned this to Chris, and he wants to talk about it more the week of Thanksgiving. I guess he'll be ready to debate this or discuss it, but in the Thriving Communities septic info that's in the Dropbox that Rivercog shared, it does talk about several of the properties that, you know, depth to groundwater will be the primary factor in determining septic system disposal capacity. We need to talk to Jacobson, but my guess is they're gonna need to go in and drill some holes or dig some holes. And, you know, that changes the scope. I mean, I think it's easy for them. It costs a little bit more money because we'd have to get some material out, but some equipment out there, but that would involve the property owners. I would offer, you know, if the property owners were willing to let us do it, we would share the results with them, which I think would be valuable to them. So I wanted to throw that out.
Yes, and I guess the question is, from a work scope standpoint, could we, should we put a little bit of time into identifying the most likely developable properties? You know, use as much of the, what I'll call desk information as we can to be able to say, okay, here are the highest, you know, the ones that look the best to us right now. And then when we want to do more in-depth study, soils and things like that, that rather than we're doing everything along Mariner's Way, we're actually very focused in these key areas.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we could go either way. Originally, I had proposed, let's do the south side, because I see the north side is, you know, it's pretty business intensive, filled in. There's not a lot of extra lots. Chris's opinion was, and I'm not disagreeing with him, was, hey, we should have, you know, if they're in there doing it, they should do it all. I did put in the RFQ, you know, I had mentioned, you know, the back part of the, you know, along the tracks down to the river. I specifically included that in, like, you know, evaluate and the feasibility of, this path through these lots with specific lot numbers with shared septic capability. So I put that in there because I see that as the probably more immediate developable piece of land. But Chris is in discussion with Chris, he felt, and I don't disagree, that, hey, we need to get our arms around all of this, the clock's ticking. I feel like it's already November. We were talking about septic as urgent, several months ago. So we could do it in phases, but it just kind of delays a bigger question. Like if we want to do an evaluation and, iterative selection of, well, these are the best choices to tee up with town leadership and maybe a public meeting, and to go in with half the story just begs, well, what else can you do? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
we don't want to put ourselves in a corner where we say, oh, we don't have that information. Well, can't make a decision. Can't make a big decision if we don't have all the information.
got it.
It's
I understand what you're saying, and I think it is simply my lack of knowledge as to whether or not and maybe what we ought to do, I don't know whether Jacobson wouldn't be doing the work, they'd be either subcontractor, we contract.
Yeah, I'm sure they have someone they've worked with or they know of people who are reasonable. And I even know backhoe people who are very reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess I'd like to talk to somebody who is in the field to understand would sampling, could you do sampling in that area and be relatively convinced about, the whole area? Do you really need to put a hole in each lot in order to be able to figure this out? Those kinds of questions, just to be able to better scope what the cost would be.
Okay. Yeah, well, I would offer to that, Brian Curtis comes across as very experienced and knowledgeable in this area. We could discuss that with him.
Mhm.
We want to discuss the scope with them so it's reasonable for them and reflects what they need to do. But, we could go over the map and he could probably say, yeah, every 500 feet or 500 yards is suitable, or here's the low point that would suffice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to go in every 20 feet and have white vent pipes.
Right, and that's also, from the perspective of working with the property owners,
Yeah, minimal intrusion as well.
Mhm.
As you know, that back area is very open and
Right.
I mean, it's all dug up anyways. I wouldn't think they'd object.
And it's one property owner, so you don't have myriad property owners back there, so.
Right, exactly. And other properties, the John Deere property and the enterprise rental, there's gonna be existing data on file, especially if those are relatively new. But, if they needed testing, I guess that's what we kind of need to figure out.
Right. There's, Jennifer, if when a company goes in, like does a build or something like that, whether the information about the soils and everything would be on file somewhere in the town?
I don't know for sure about that, but I think there might be some information about individual septic systems and things like that, and what was constructed either here or with the health district.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah, for my own septic system, which I replaced 3 years ago, yeah, they were in the files here and they save every shred of documentation that they can, but it can easily be out of date with
I mean, if somebody had to submit a plan that included that information, I'm sure we still have it, we wouldn't
Right.
mind rid of it, but I don't know when you're required or not required to do that.
Got it. Okay.
It's out of the scope of my expertise.
Okay, so next steps for you.
To get with Chris, he indicated the week of Thanksgiving, you know, I'll work with him. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a discussion with Brian before that myself,
Sure.
just to kind of keep it moving. I respect Chris's opinion though, of being at, if he wants to be at the table too, but I'll talk to him about that. You know, this is a little bit iterative, and so I could probably get something from Brian, you know, some recommendations, sit with Chris, share it with you. Then maybe go back to Brian, or maybe then you go to Carl and
Right,
get the go ahead.
right,
Yeah,
right. So our next meeting after this will be the 9th of
December 9th. Yeah, so should have something by then.
Okay, all right. Hey, Casey. Okay. So this is me is
Not good.
well, it's healing, but he's not here and probably saw the team and yeah, so. So we are now all together. For the big-
Things all here. All right.
Hi, Casey.
Hi,
Okay,
Tracy.
so anything else on the soils?
No,
On to business and property owners. Anything there?
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna keep going, I guess, with what I've been doing for now until I know who's with me. Working on my spreadsheet. Did meet another neighbor this week, and he was definitely aware of what was going on. I told him, you know, that the meetings were public. He could come. He could zoom in. And he seemed certainly to think it would be a great thing if we spruced it up, like I think was the way he put it, spruced up Mariners Bay. So, yeah, I guess I just keep going the way I'm going. I mean, I'm finding, this is my busy season, so I'm not, out there pounding the pavement every day.
Right, so it's really unrealistic between now and Christmas, be thinking that you're gonna be out knocking on doors and talking to people, right?
I mean, I'm a retail store. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
is it worth, now I'm not doing it, you are, I appreciate that, but is it worth having like an open house for property and business owners to try to do some all at once at a location, maybe at your, I don't know if you could fit them in the clubhouse there, but.
I could actually. I mean, if that's something that, I mean, I don't want to be here by myself because I don't have all the answers, particularly, you're talking about the soil testing and the wetlands and all that. But if,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be willing to attend and, support.
yeah, I mean, I'd be perfectly happy to invite people and to come and chat and stuff. I don't know if we're there yet. But
Well, if it would be more introductory, like in the FAQ level.
right. And that's the thing, like, that's one of my things to talk about is when we look at the FAQ, is this something we're going to, like, I'm envisioning almost something that I could hand out when I pop in somewhere. But
And also it'll be up on the website.
yeah, it also will be up on the website, but there's nothing when you walk into a place like having something to hand out, to just say, here's some info. But the other thing is, and I don't want to get ahead of the agenda, but this reads to me very, it's very, very, very polished. and less boots on the ground. I don't know how else to say it, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Okay. All right. Well, so one of the things that we, need to talk about a little bit relative to Tina's resignation. Not only was she your partner, but one of the reasons why I think she desperately wanted to be on the committee, and it was a good idea to have her on the committee because she was bringing a real estate background. So she had knowledge of properties and those kinds of things. So I just think we should probably think about what skill sets we'd want to have to replace her, and whether or not that, if we come up with more skill sets than resident and one individual, then maybe we get another individual. But anyway, I think we need to partner you up. But I also think that I need to get out there and start knocking on some doors as well. So do you say you're working on a spreadsheet? Do you have it with your spreadsheet? Are you, does it indicate who you've talked to?
It does. Right now it's all scratchy, but after this weekend, I'm gonna, I can type into it and stuff and get it up to date.
Right.
And
go ahead.
I mean, I would be happy to just have, I would be happy to have you with me, or to have you initiate and I go with you, or if you just want to do it by yourself. But I am not, as I said this to you guys, it feels like a lifetime ago. I'm not a cold phone caller. And Tina was all about, I'm in real estate. That's what I do all the time. I can make 1 million calls a day.
Right.
As a business owner, that is not me.
Right.
First of all, I'm allergic to the telephone, and my staff will tell you that. And second of all, I never know when the computer's going to stop working. I'm going to be with tech support for 2 hours. So whoever it is, I think can't be here as a business owner perspective. I think we need someone who's not so small like me that the buck stops with me all the time. I'm not trying to whine. I'm just trying to explain, I set aside 2 hours and the next thing I know, my credit card machines won't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It needs to be someone not like me, who's like a very small shop.
Got it. Okay, let's, can I ask you, when you have the chance, can you just send me your spreadsheet indicating with whom you've spoken, so that
Yep.
I'm not duplicating that? And
Yep.
between now, I'll take time between now and Christmas, while you're busy, hopefully making your year's worth of money, reaching out and connecting with people, and I'll keep you informed about that. And if you're available for a meeting, that's fine, but we'll just keep moving, and you can be part of it as you see fit.
That'd be great. And then there's people that I've talked to that I think as you go along, maybe you might want to circle back with.
Mhm.
We might want to circle back with, because we do have a little bit more information. So I'll indicate that you'll know the people I've talked to. That doesn't mean that it's an end of discussion. It was just the beginning,
Right. And then that ties in my mind to Doug's idea. My sense of it is the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas is already packed with things. But if we think, and I do think it's a good idea, that January is dead relative to meetings and those kinds of things, we could look at something in that second or third week of January as being an open house, that hopefully by then we've gotten some of our act together. Casey and I'll talk a little bit about some of the streetscape stuff, and there would probably be enough to talk about, to initiate discussion and then get feedback as a result of that. And we can begin to target that timeframe.
Yeah, that would be great. And again, I would love to host it here, or if it's something that has to be done with the technology or whatever at town hall, that's fine too. But if it's a more casual thing, I would be more than happy to host it here. I can fit like 30 people in my classroom. So, and by that time of year, the classroom will be open again.
It's gotta be a lot of room in that, big space that just became the cheer camp, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have not been in there yet, but they have the doors open sometimes. I think those kids must be freezing, but they're probably dying of the heat.
Right, right.
And I would envision, like, if you had that, it wouldn't be technology and us doing slide after slide. It'd be kind of high level, what's in the FAQs, and then we listen and respond to questions, or we'll follow up with answers. We don't want to overwhelm
Right.
Yeah.
people with data.
This is the listening tour.
Yes,
I was just
exactly.
gonna say that.
Suggest though, just maybe a different. To me, in my experience, I think these meetings tend to be more effective when we have like a specific set of either questions we want answered by the community, you know, the members of the community and or the stakeholders that are participating. I find that if you just have like a, hey, talk to me kind of meeting, you'll either get like one person that kind of like takes over the meeting, or you'll have a situation where like people have their one issue or like this one detail that like ends up taking over the meeting that isn't really like either we're not there yet, or everybody goes down this one rabbit hole and then the meeting has gone by, and like, you know, and people, I mean, I think people have questions and people have opinions about things, and I think it's important for us to hear all of that. I just think it would be I think it's more productive if it's like directed, because I'm assuming we'll have more than one of these meetings as we are at different points in our progress.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good point, because people could just be silent
Right, well, that's
and then the
the,
meeting's over in
Right,
10 minutes.
right.
Or,
right.
you know.
And I just think it's important for us to hear from stakeholders in a way that we're all being productive, like in the most productive way that we can, I guess.
So why don't we put on the agenda for our meeting on the 9th? We'll talk that through. By then, I think we'll know a little more about where we are on various different things. And say, okay, based on that, what do we, what would we then want to say at a meeting in mid-January? And that would then still give us a time to, if we're in agreement that we're ready to go, then at that point, we could begin to tell folks about the meeting in January. And that would give them enough notice that they could make it, and we would be more sure that we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and I think too, like, it might be helpful, I mean, I think it's helpful to have, like, as the initial meeting, we don't have to hash this all out now, but, right, like, we want to hear from you, because I think there are things that we're getting to the point where maybe we want to hear from, or we're ready to hear from stakeholders, their thoughts and opinions and information about things. And then that can sort of inform what we're doing. And then from there, there's another meeting where it's like, what do you want to hear from us? Or like, we're ready to share more of our information.
Yep. Yeah, the specifics and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Tracy, you all set?
Yep.
All right, we will move on to streetscape. Couple of things happening in that regard. One is, did hear back from the folks at Jacobson, and they have a couple of questions, which I said I would bring up at the committee tonight to talk about, and then hopefully they will get with a final proposal put together. What they are if you remember context is, this is we asked them to look at the 2017 application that was made to the Connecticut Department of Transportation for funding for doing streetscape and street work on Route 1 there. And so one of the initial foci of that work, and I think my bias here, I think when you write an application for to an agency, you probably are writing against what you know at the time is the agency's priorities. So one of the first things out of the box that the application had was about a wayfinding and signing effort to for Mariners Way. And when we initially talked, we were talking about it was important for there to be a cohesiveness around Mariners Way that, people, that something happening within Mariners Way. But I don't think we believe that there's a real strong desire that Mariners Way is a place from which other parts of town are pointed, you know what I mean? From just a signage saying, here's here to Ferry Point, here to downtown, or whatever the case may be. I mean, to me, that's not a priority. I don't know whether.
I agree.
So, so I think they, and, Jacobson was, said if you want us to remove that, in my mind, I'm also looking at the dollars and saying, okay, whatever we don't want them to do, let's make sure they don't do so we don't have to pay for it. Then question about the ramp. Back in 2017, I think there was still some concern that the DOT was going to do something with the highway entrance ramp there, as well as the exit, the entrance ramp over off of 154. But I asked the folks at Rivercog, the transportation guy at Rivercog, whether that was still a discussion at all, and he said no. So we'll confirm that. We've got a meeting with DOT for Monday. We'll confirm that. But if the ramps are pretty much if the highways ramp system is going to stay the same, I don't think they need to do anything relative to the ramps.
Yeah, with the truck traffic that we heard about that goes through there, you would think that would be justification to keep those there.
Yeah. And it is weird. I mean, if one were to, come in from out of town and look at our on ramps and off ramps and where they are, I mean, Spencer Plains Road makes sense, the rest of it doesn't make that sense. But I'm sure there is a reason for it back when all of this was done. But I also think there's probably not a strong desire to be making changes there.
But I think
Go ahead.
we might want them to look at the intersections themselves in terms of the streetscape, right? I think that was part of, or that's what I read to be part of the question,
Okay.
but maybe maybe not.
How do we incorporate the ramp and the street?
Right, so I presumed they would look at like the stop signs and the roadway widths there and all the other things that we've talked about, because that is obviously when you're getting on the highway, it's like there's a lot of pavement there. So
Right.
I assume that maybe they were gonna look at like, can they do any sort of road diet there without messing with the
Mhm.
off-ramp or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that intersection next to, was it Fine Fettle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
needs work.
Yeah.
Heck, I hate saying it could probably be a rotary or something.
Yeah.
Don't say that. R word.
I know a lot of people don't like it, but as it sits now, it's a tough intersection with people pulling out of the parking lot, coming from that stop sign. But
The
yeah,
parking lot, from my
So-
perspective, driving it every day, the parking lot's not so much the issue as people really coming to a stop that are coming off the highway, really coming to a stop, and the people that are coming up from like Gladeview getting a chance to pull out. You know what I mean? Fettel has actually, I'm sure other people have thoughts about this, but I haven't really noticed any major increase.
I know you're talking with Rob at RiverCog. So there is a initiative that RiverCog is coordinating, this SS4A traffic study you've probably heard about or seen in the emails. Where they selected, they brought in consultants, it's a grant and it's the state's involved. But they identified like 3 locations in the RiverCog area where there's been like fatalities and the roads need improvement, and this team is going to make suggestions. So to make a long story short, Old Saybrook was selected as one of the 3 locations, and it happens to be at Bochum Road, where, if you go by Tractor Supply, it forks off to the left, and there was a fatality that hit that tree. And the other end of that same 154 by the where the road goes up to Essex.
Okay.
Just past the on-ramp. That's another fork in the road.
Mhm.
So forks in the road are dangerous because people don't have to slow down. They think they can, maintain their speed, cut off the guy coming the other way. So they're looking at making those potentially 90-degree intersections. And that's exactly what we have, that off-ramp,
Right.
that southbound off-ramp. So I guess my point is, I would encourage, we work with Rob and the state, and I'm sure Jacobson's tied into that too. I don't think the SS4A team can be assigned to this,
Right.
because they have assigned a fixed scope, but it is very, very similar to what they're doing. They're identifying and implementing best practices.
I would have to go back and look at the tape, but I very strongly believe that early on in the discussion with Fettel about their coming in, that they offered to turn that intersection into a T to pay for
Yeah,
it.
I was involved, I heard a lot on the planning commission. I don't recall that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm keenly aware of how weird it is, you have to break your neck to be able to see whether anybody's at the stop sign in there. So anyway, I think there may be another way to get there, but I agree that we ought to make sure that's a part of this. Okay, continuing so then the question that they're asking is about, they had, they initially in the study were looking at what I'll euphemistically call, Mystic Market to the on-ramp. And yet when Chris asked them to do the work that they did around, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but where they looked at the entire roadbed, they were really looking from Mystic Market around the corner on to Ferry Road. And so they're just trying to get a better sense of what the scope is in their mind. We need to, and I agree, we need to be thinking about connections. And so it's probably even going beyond Mystic Market on that side, but Saybrook Junction as being the, one spot, which would be over the bridge, and then at least to the curve for Ferry Road, if not beyond that. So I think it's worth having them, having that whole area as being part of this focus rather than thinking that we're going to be stopping there. And then they were one of our concerns when we met with them right at, when was it, September or whatever, was that we just missed the summer, which was the peak traffic count, and that, everything would basically be dependent on getting peak traffic counts, but they look to, have some information that they may be able to, use to extrapolate to get us there, so we don't have to wait for the summer to be able to move this forward. So anyways, that's good news in that regard. But, I will get back to them with this information and hopefully we can get that process moving.
So will the scope include pedestrians from
Yes,
like Saybrook Junction?
yeah, I think we ought to at least understand if we have any, do we have options? And if we do, what are the options? You know? I'm sure,
Absolutely. Whether we like it or not, we have pedestrians crossing Route 1. And
Right.
it's important they're safe.
so yes, we'll have that, and clearly we're looking, I mean, concomitantly, we've got this, meeting on Monday with DOT, hopefully, Rob from Rivercog will be able to attend as well. And talk to them about, they're heavy into multimodal at this point, so getting them thinking about this stretch, multimodal ideas there, but thinking also about how do you get from the train station to here? This is if what we're talking about, and another part of state government is transit-oriented, development. This is a whole area of the transit-oriented development could be taking place if you could get people, not in their cars driving over to the train station. So to me, it all gets, it all interplays. So that's where we are with that. Do you have any more to add?
No, I other than I think they brought up the idea of like preliminary concepts, and maybe at some point we should discuss, maybe not tonight, but at some point we should discuss whether those we're just going to use the preliminary concepts that already exist and have them minus the one that we already talked about removing, which is the one with the median, raised median, yeah. But if we're just gonna use, if our plan is to sort of have them initially use the ones that exist as a starting point, or whether there was some other direction we were going in.
Well, maybe what I had to do is ask them why they wouldn't use those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Work cut out for us. We will report back in December. On to frequently asked questions. And I guess we could look for general comments first, and then any specifics that people have, and or importantly, any additional questions that we should have. Do you want to go into any more detail with what you were saying, Tracy?
I guess from the perspective of a property owner, we have a lot of different businesses here. We've got retail, we've got industrial, we've got, businesses that are dependent on people coming in, and businesses that really don't need to have clients coming in. And I think if we're going to have an FAQ, especially one that we can hand out to people, which is what I would love to see, which I don't know if that was the intention or not. I mean, it's great that we even have an FAQ just for us to be able to, but I would love something that we could hand out or, share online, all these things. It just reads to me, most of us don't say in our daily speech, suggestions must align with real world implementation challenges. It just feels very formal to me, I guess, and less about informing those of us who live here and work here. Sorry, that's what I can come up with for wording at the moment. I just feel like it's sort of
A little
cold.
more formal than you're comfortable with.
Yeah, because I mean, we're trying to talk to people. We're trying to make connections with people. And I just, most people don't talk this way.
Are we thinking this is used more as talking points or more as like an FAQ
That's the
paper
question.
handout that can go to people? Because I think maybe that's kind of
Yes,
where you are.
supposed to be
Yeah.
both.
Okay, yes, okay. So, and maybe that's like, because maybe they are a little bit different. Like a conversation versus what's in writing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, I guess what I was thinking was that this would be, number one, this would be we'd have this on the website and be able to point people to, the FAQs on the website. We could have it as something that we're handing out, but that doesn't then mean that in conversation with people, you're using all the words here. I think that
I know.
we can all, we can all figure out what's the right way to communicate it. So I guess I hear what you say, Tracy. I'm just not sure if we went back through and tried to make it informal, how much of a change that it would actually be. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Just, I think it's something that I wouldn't feel comfortable if I didn't bring up.
yeah, I got it.
I'm fine with it. But another global observation I have is that I honestly think the two most important questions to the people that own property here are on the back of the page and come last.
Mhm.
And I think those are the sticking points. Well, the last one's not a sticking point. It's how can I keep up to date, and that is so important. I mean, we have to tell people something how many times before they remember it, right? So
Right.
how I stay informed is critical. And but I think this question, since all the property is privately owned, how will the town be able to redevelop? That is the big issue. I think it goes to what JT brought up last time, and I do think what's going to happen. Nothing is predetermined to happen. Again, it sounds a little wordy, but nothing is predetermined. Suggestions have been made. Just
So,
a global observation.
yeah, so some realignment to what might be the most pressing questions in people's minds.
Yeah, if it's for facts, if it's about reaching the people who live here, who work here, who own here, and then the people in town, I think we need to look at it from that perspective.
Mhm. Okay,
Less about from a developer's perspective.
that's fair. That's fair.
So it can be scary, but do we want to put this in the Dropbox and go in and track changes, or
I mean,
Sure,
when you
Yeah,
have a lot of hands in the pot, it can get,
Yeah.
stomp on each other, but.
I wouldn't, I guess I don't have any trouble about going in and trying to do change of order of questions. I think I'm very comfortable leaving the language to Jennifer, because that could get wild if all of a sudden
Yeah.
you've got 6 people trying to write a document, but so.
I understand what you're saying about, the things that are maybe of biggest concern. When I was putting it together, I was trying to think sort of in the order of most basic information down to, so like, that's why
Yeah.
what is Mariner's Way is first. Maybe it's not the sexiest of the questions, but
It's like
it's
the
it's
background.
the basic, yeah, so that's kind of what informed the order. I mean, I'm not to reordering it a certain way, but sort of those basic, like, ground level questions came first, and that's why it worked up that was my thinking, but if that's not how it's interpreted by other people, then of course we should, look at changing it, but.
Sure.
Well, I think what is Mariner's Way and why does the town want to change it? I mean, those are key, absolutely. What does this mean for existing businesses is kind of almost, it's not the same question as the one on the back, but I don't know. I just worry the one on the back, they kind of cover the same territory in some ways, because what does this mean for existing businesses? Well, nobody's going to force you to sell your business, right? It's just, it's an opportunity, but
I think people are worried about that though.
they're very worried about that. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
to take this existing businesses away from being up at the top. I think it's important. I just don't know if the other part needs to be with it, because having that Camoin Associates paragraph right up top, everybody's tired of hearing about the studies, so maybe we do ourselves a little favor if we put it further down. I don't know. That's me. And then the other thing I noticed from a non, it was just a general is, we talk about the TIF. We definitely, I think, should have a link to what a TIF is. And it would even be greater if you could give us like a very simple, because I've heard TIF a couple of times and I've tried looking at it. I would love to have some concrete. What is a TIF? Why is it important?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would another way to do this, like I have some editorial, I guess, proposals. If I just did like track changes and I email them to you and then you decide whether they use them or not,
That's perfect. And I would,
as opposed to us all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I think might get crazy because that's what happened with the letter.
right?
And then I had to like, oh
Start
my
over.
lord, it was like, it's craziness. Yeah, and I'm interested too, because I know you're the one who asked for this. Like, did you feel like this at least partially was like what you were looking for? Or did,
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
I mean, I took a lot of this from what people
Yeah,
talked
from the
about at the
discussion.
meeting. It's,
Yeah, I've just got a few,
yeah,
minor additions, maybe a couple bullets instead of a big busy paragraph.
yeah.
Make it real easy to read.
Yeah, anybody should feel welcome to mark it up and send me that, and I can then sort of piece them together.
Okay. That's good.
Can I make a couple of general comments?
Absolutely.
I think I'm impressed by how well you summarized answers to a lot of complicated questions in a way that was very complete. Like I think you did a great job. But I just had a couple of general suggestions. One is for what is Mariner's Way, like at least on the website version, can we attach a little map? Or a little, you know what I mean, just like a little screenshot kind of map. Maybe that shows the general area. Because I was trying to think of this as, like I think other people were saying, like if I don't know, we all sit here and like talk about this all the time and think about it all the time. So we kind of like talk the talk. But if I don't talk the talk, and I think you did a really good job of breaking that down. For what kinds of changes are being discussed, where we talk about the revitalization objectives, should we list them? Or do you think, if I see it, I'm like, oh, there's this study and now I have to click on this link and I have to like read through this other study? Or do you think then people get too focused on that?
So that, I made a judgment call there. I mean, I'm certainly open to whatever. I didn't want to make it too long, and that's why I put the link in instead.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to doing that. I just didn't want to.
Yeah, you don't want it too
People with
busy
facts.
because of people will club.
Plus, when we talked originally, we talked about, we wanted to have high level stuff for people to just stay out of the weeds. But,
Okay.
I mean, we can do it any way we want. This is a draft.
No,
It's meant to be worked on, so.
No, that makes sense. And I do, yeah, I sort of agree with Tracy about maybe the, like, what kinds of changes are being discussed. We can move down a little bit, but generally the order like made sense to me.
Mhm.
The other
I
thing,
think here is one of the big things that we for me, one of the things that I'm hearing is, there's a lot of uncertainty about us kind of meddling with people and their affairs. And so for me, I just want to make sure that we address it, that the idea is to actually be helpful, and there could be tremendous opportunities that someone might want to jump on, or they might not. Nobody's going to make you do something, but it would be really great to have everyone participating and really thoughtful. And
yeah, so, and to that sort of point, under the, what does this mean for existing businesses? Two thoughts, just one, do we wanna include property owners also, or, I don't know if you wanna have a separate thing to
Sure.
address property owners, but, because their positions might be slightly different, but I think what it means for them is kind of the same. I mean, there's opportunity here and we're trying to work with them on it. But do we wanna add something in there that says something along the lines of like, that we'll be we're looking to work with property owners and business owners, and we'll be seeking input at a series of meetings or something along those lines. And
Yeah, I had penned in, and I'll send it to Jennifer. The ad hoc committee is in the process of engaging with property and business owners to identify opportunities and possibilities.
Yeah.
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 As like a bullet.
yeah, I think that's
So I agree with your comment.
okay.
And I'll just, while Casey's taking a breath, I'll just add, in that area, I would also include the word expansion. So we have business improvement, expansion, and development opportunities, because I think this is a great opportunity for those businesses to possibly be expanding.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like everybody's been saying, I think we really want to emphasize as much as we can, like, this is an opportunity for the town and businesses and property owners to all work together to try to, enhance and, build off of the existing area. So my last comment, I promise, is under why does the town want to change it? It says, underutilized and in need of some streetscape improvements. But that's not, in my mind at least, that's not the only thing we're talking about.
I agree with that, and I have proposed words.
Oh, perfect.
See if
Perfect.
these work. The goal is to transform the corridor into a vibrant and thriving district that better serves the community and its economic potential.
Yeah, that's
great.
good. I like that.
Something like
That
that.
sounds good.
Here's to my ass to.
So I had the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this wasn't, it's a
Yeah,
great
it's
start.
great.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And I'll send that to you, Jim. Jennifer.
Okay, other comments people have? Wonderful, glad everybody had a chance to take a look at it. And we've got any additional comments to Jennifer for draft 2? Any comments from committee members?
I have a
Is
question
there
about,
one more person on the call now?
There is an attendee.
yeah, it's a member. I have a question about the December schedule. The second date in December would be December 23rd.
Perfect. Who's playing Santa Claus?
I just want to confirm whether or not you want to hold
Hair
a
on
meeting.
fire at that point.
Why don't we, we'll definitely hold the 9th.
Mhm.
At the 9th, my guess is we will determine that we don't need another meeting in December. But if on the 9th we decide we do want one, but I think it is safe to cancel the 23rd.
Or we could all bring our wrapping paper to the big conference room in town hall.
There you go. Good point. Okay. Any other comments people have?
Yeah.
All right, hearing none,
Motion to adjourn.
There's moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Bye.
Any opposed?